Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of 12 Health. I'm Shannon Heggie, and today we're talking about laryngeal cleft awareness. And this was brought to my attention by New Bedford mom, Melissa Alves. She's here with her husband, Sean, and their daughter, Aubriana. They have another daughter, Olivia, who's 1.5, and Aubriana here is 4. And you guys have really been through it. And for those out there who don't know what this is, laryngeal cleft is an often undiagnosed and very rare birth defect. And it basically is an opening between the airway and the esophagus that allows food and liquid to enter the lungs.
Yes.
Which sounds, I'm sure, as scary as it was for you guys.
Yes.
So why don't you take us through how this all started with Aubriana?
So it started when she was born, healthy baby, 8 pounds, 6 ounces. We didn't think anything. When I started giving her milk, she was like pushing back on it, not really taking it. They said she's a newborn, just a few hours old. She'll eventually get to it. So we went home thinking nothing of it, and days passed, and I'm like, something's not right. So when we saw her pediatrician, he said it was most likely acid reflux. So they put her on an acid reflux med, told us to add oatmeal to her formula, and we went from there. But she still kept vomiting, still kept going with the not really taking her bottles, so she began to lose weight. So then he referred us to a hospital in Rhode Island. We saw GI there, and they said it's a formula intolerance, a milk intolerance. So we went through so many different milks, and at one point he said, she doesn't need that bottle, which was the Dr. Brown bottles. You're just wasting money on them. So I just felt like, no, I don't care how much I waste. I want to go elsewhere. So we went to Boston Children's. After many hospital stays there, we saw GI. GI sent us over to ORL, which is basically Centers for Airway Disease, and we saw Dr. Rabar.
Okay.
After testing, everything kept coming back normal. She wouldn't complete her swallow studies because she wasn't taking bottles, so they ended up putting an NG tube in. And from the NG, she still wasn't getting better. So.
An NG tube being a feeding tube.
Yep.
Because there was no other way to
there was
get
no
nutrition.
other way.
Okay.
Yeah. But it still kept happening. So when they went to go place her G tube, which is the stomach one, that's when they did a triple scope. And that's when they found the cleft.
That has to have been, I don't know, how many months was this that we're talking?
She was 8 months when she was diagnosed.
Oh my gosh. So 8 months. I mean, Sean, to go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and we know this is rare. I believe I read it happens in 1 in every 10,000 to 20,000 births. So it's not crazy that doctors couldn't figure it out. But for a family like yours, 8 months of watching your daughter probably be underweight, right? Yes. And not meeting her goals and her doctor's appointments and feeling helpless as parents. How hard was that?
It was just something that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. It was just day after day not knowing what's next. You know, step by step, we had to slowly figure something out. And my wife didn't stop until she did. Unfortunately, it took a while. It took a long time. But we got there.
Yeah.
You know? Just more and more focusing on things that she wasn't doing, like eating.
Yeah.
You know, that's what helped us the most.
Yeah, and it finally took an ENT, and none of these hospitals really saw that until finally after everything. And I'm sure you're not the only family with this diagnosis who had to go through all of those doctors. Obviously, she doesn't have a feeding tube now. So when did we cross that hurdle?
So she had her surgery when she was 1, her first surgery.
She had, and we should clarify too, there are different stages of this birth defect. And
yes.
she had
type 1.
Which is the least complicated
yes.
version? Okay.
So type 4 is the worse.
Yeah.
Which comes with a lot of complications.
So how old was she when she was finally eligible for surgery?
Dr. Rabar, what he likes to do is wait until 6th season is over, because a lot of these cleft kiddos are always sick, always congested, and to have surgery while like that is very
High risk.
high risk.
Gotcha.
So he waits until 6th season is over, so spring. She went for her first cleft surgery, and the repair went great. I believe it was like a month to 2 months in, started to do the same thing, still coughing a lot, still congested. So we're like, what's going on? He said everything looks great. Let's do a swallow study. She didn't cooperate again. So he went in and he said, I think she needs another stitch or two.
Oh, okay.
So we waited, and I believe January of 2024 was when he did her second repair.
Okay.
And since then, she's thriving.
Oh, well, we love seeing that. The Alves' second daughter, Olivia, was born with the exact same birth defect. You would think that because they'd already been through it, that might have been a little easier, but it wasn't. And we're going to hear all about Olivia when we come back after this short break. Welcome back to this episode of 12 Health, where we are talking about a very rare birth defect called laryngeal cleft. And it basically is an opening between the airway and the esophagus that allows food and liquid to enter into the lungs. And joining me today is the Alves family from New Bedford. Both of their daughters were born with this birth defect. And we said it in the first part of this 12 Health episode, but this is very, very rare, to the point that it happens in 1 in every 10,000 to 20,000 births. So the Alves told us first how long it took, 8 months, to get their daughter Aubriana diagnosed. So then Olivia's born. She's 1.5 now. And you would think that because you guys had already been through this, that it would have been maybe a little bit of an easier road, but that wasn't the case, because her diagnosis came with an extra level of complication. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So when Olivia was born, she was born healthy, 9-pound girl, 9 pound 3 ounces. We were like, okay, this is great. Drinking fine. And then a few weeks in, we're like, okay, maybe acid reflux, because it wasn't so bad. She wasn't vomiting. And then 3 months in, she started to vomit and show signs. And we were like, what is going on? So we brought her to the hospital. They already knew, like, sister has a cleft. Chances of her having one are very high, because it could be genetics. So they took her in, put an NG tube in. We went home thinking everything was fine. And I want to say 2 weeks later, we ended up back in the ER because I was getting ready to give her a bath, and she just went like blank, like limp, like wouldn't move, wouldn't open her eyes, just sitting there. I started screaming. We called 911. We all thought at that point it was seizures, so they sent her to Boston. When we got to Boston, they're like, no, this isn't it. They're like, her sugars are low. They were at 10. So we were like, what is this? They still didn't know. They sent us home with all the diabetic care and injections to give her in case it happens again. And sure enough, it happened a few more times. So we went back to Boston. They had her in PICU for a little while, and they diagnosed her with congenital hyperinsulinism, which is another rare disease. And only 1 in 25,000 to 50,000 children are born in, I think, children's hospitals. 1 to 2 children are born a year with that. So they focused more on that for a while because they knew that there was a huge possibility of the laryngeal cleft. And then in December of that year, which she was about 8 or 9 months, they did the triple scope, and sure enough, she had a laryngeal cleft. So they repaired hers last May of 2025. Since then, she's thriving with it, but still requires the G-tube because of her hypoglycemia. So we're not sure how long she'll have that for.
I mean, but I think you probably were bracing, right, knowing that you did, I think, some testing to see before your second daughter was born, but there was no way to tell if she was going to have it too. Was there that, like, your heart just sinks moment when you're like, here we go again, and then it was even more unpredictable than the first time?
Yes.
How hard was that, Sean?
That was I don't know, to do it over again. You know, we waited 8 months to figure out something with Aubriana. So now getting a little head start on it, you know, it didn't take as long for us to make the ends meet, but it was still a tough time just to figure out the next steps on how to move forward. So, I mean, Laryngeal cleft is something that is just the top of this one, of our second daughter, but it is definitely good to know beforehand that her daughter her sister had it, and then now my other daughter has it, so it's kind of a little down for us, knowing that it could be something. It could have been something, but it is something that's not as much. I would just wish it was a little easier for us to know things beforehand.
I will say, though, and we've had a lot of families on here with rare diagnoses, and part of what's so difficult, right, is the loneliness of it and the why me, because you're like, it's so rare. That's not something you want to hear, because it just makes you feel even more than how did it happen to us. But the one thing I will say about all the parents who come in here who have been handed these rare diagnoses, they are warriors. And once they get through the worst of it, they are out making sure that it is more well known than it was for them. And that's what you guys have done. And the way we found out about this entire story is because Melissa emailed our news station, and she should be super proud because she advocated and got Massachusetts to declare January 22nd, correct?
Yes.
As Laryngeal Cleft Awareness Day.
Yes.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg as to what you've done. What was it in you that said, I'm not just going to sit down and let someone else go through the road we've been through?
Because every hospital stay, every time we went in, I cried, I screamed, I didn't know what was wrong with her. I wanted them to figure it out. They just couldn't, and they kept telling me it was this, it was that. It was never any of that. And at one point I thought, oh my God, maybe I'm the crazy one. And it just broke me, and I don't want any parent to go through that, because it was a lonely time. It was so lonely. I went into depression. My anxiety was through the roof. I just I can't see another mother or father go through something like that. And that's what brought me to raise awareness. I found a Facebook group called Laryngeal Cleft Network, and from there on, all of the parents in there are just amazing. We all work together. We all advocate together, and that's about it. That's about what we do.
Well, we need to take another quick break, but when we come back, I want to know more about what that Awareness Day is all about, and what your advocacy has done, and what you and all of these other parents are working to do to bring more awareness and to help other parents not go through the unknowns the way you did. So we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to 12 Health. So before we took our break, we were talking about how you advocated to get Laryngeal Cleft Awareness Day on January 22nd in Massachusetts. The moment they called you and said that had been approved, what was that like?
I was so excited, so happy. I told everyone on the Laryngeal Cleft Network page. They were all excited. It was just amazing to have another state approve a Laryngeal Cleft Awareness Day.
And I know it's a proclamation. You see a picture of it, it's just kind of written on, a framed thing. But is it just about even getting the words out there so that people go, what's that? What does that mean? Or does it come with even more awareness and advocacy and actions attached to it?
It's just about getting the word out for now, but we want to make.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your next step?
Our next steps are to get as many states as possible to approve this day, and eventually make it an official day. Don't know what day, but because every state has a different date for it, but eventually in the next few years we want to make this big. We want to have that advocacy for other parents to know.
Sean, this Laryngeal Cleft Network, I know that's the nonprofit you guys have really gotten involved with.
Yes.
What did it mean to finally be able to talk with other families and other parents who've been through what you've been through?
So it was good to finally be able to reach out to someone that understands the same thing that we were going through. It kind of went hand in hand with helping other people as well, because they could see that they're not the only ones. They're not alone in the fight to find out what is wrong with their child. And hopefully this will show more people that clefts could be in any person, young, old. It doesn't discriminate against anybody. So hopefully giving a hand to someone else they could see it and maybe relate some issues that they're having, and maybe bring it up to their doctors as well, or their child's doctors, to see if maybe that could be something that they might have.
I know a lot of times I think, underestimate how resilient our kids are.
Oh, yes.
How impressed have you been by Aubriana with her sparkles in her hair and her sister through everything they've been through? I'm sure there's a lot she doesn't even remember, but you watched as a baby as she went through surgeries and hospital stays. Are you amazed at how she made it through all of that?
So amazed. From going from vomiting every day, still a happy baby, still trying to get her milestones in. It was just so amazing to watch her just thrive through everything she's gone through in life. And that is just, children are just...
They surprise us, don't they?
Yes.
What would you say to the other parents out there who are going through maybe what you went through, even if it's not this same diagnosis, but that are being kicked from doctor to doctor with no answers? Because I think your insistency and your advocacy was a huge part of finally getting the right answers, right? So what do you say to the parents out there?
So I've had a few moms that I've met that have had the same issues, and I'm like, maybe you should bring them to Children's. Maybe you should ask them these questions. Maybe get a swallow study. Start off with a swallow study. Even though ours was negative, some kids are come back with a swallow study being abnormal. And if not, a triple scope, and figure it out from there. Maybe it's not, maybe it is, but a laryngeal cleft cannot be diagnosed unless it's under a triple scope or a bronchoscopy. So telling these parents this, I've had 2 moms that their children have actually been tested and came back with laryngeal clefts. So there are a lot more children out there who do have laryngeal clefts, and they're just not diagnosed or underdiagnosed.
It almost makes you feel like, okay, if we had to go through all of this, I'm at least going to pay it forward. Like, it sounds like you've got a mission now.
Yes. And we all do. On the Laryngeal Cleft Network group page, we all have that mission, that same mission. Get the word out there, because we all went through that same exact story that I had with Aubriana. At one point, we just all felt alone and felt like we had no one to talk to, and we were just in a dark place for the longest time. And knowing once they diagnosed her with that, it was just a relief. Like, oh my goodness, like, finally, now we can get her life on the right path. And I don't, like Sean said, we don't wish it upon anyone. And
Right.
if we can stop this and advocate for it, we will.
Yeah. Well, I give you both so much credit. It's clear that you are dedicated to raising awareness, helping other parents, making sure no one else goes down the path that you had to go down. And I give your kids a lot of credit too, because she's obviously doing great. And I wish Olivia the best as you navigate her challenges too. Thank you both so much for coming on. And hopefully there's a parent out there that's watching this that is going to be helped by your story.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this episode of 12 Health.